Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. Explore 5 more true and intriguing tales that challenge the boundaries of time, from Jacob Ward's historical encounter with a centuries-gone indigenous village, to Amanda Clark's pastoral encounter with an ancestral homestead, Karen Sinclair's eerie descent into a 17th century stable, and Jeff Morgan's nostalgic glimpse into his own childhood. Such extraordinary time-slip accounts defy reality and invite us to ponder the mysteries of existence. The Sioux Village. In the autumn of 1987, 11-year-old Jacob Ward was deer hunting for the very first time with his father Bill. They were members of a sizable hunting party given permission to stalk the dense woods and rolling fields of the sprawling timber farm owned by Jacob's 5th grade teacher, Mr. Caldwell. It was located near the Missouri River next to the Yankton Sioux Reservation in Charles Mix County, South Dakota. It was the late afternoon of the second day of the seasonal hunt. Jacob had wandered far east from the rest of the group, lured deeper into the vibrantly coloured oak and maple forest bordering the riverbanks by the thrilling prospect of spotting a prized 12-point buck. As he pushed through the thick underbrush and approached a trampled clearing where he was to eventually meet up with the hunting party, instead of Mr. Caldwell's cornfields, Jacob stumbled into a small bustling village of thatched teepees. Jacob froze in shock at the sight before him. Bewildered, he observed that there were at least 24 teepees encircling a central campfire, with native villagers in deerskin leggings and tunics. Women tended cook fires outside the teepees, while young children chased each other laughing between the dwellings. Instead of the transistor radio, canteen and binoculars he'd been carrying, Jacob now found himself clad in hand-stitched leather buckskins and wielding an antique flintlock musket and a strange horn-shaped implement on a string, which upon later research Jacob discovered was a powder horn, a container for storing gunpowder. At the edge of the hidden native village, Jacob noticed a Sioux girl close to his own age beckoning at him enthusiastically. She seemed pleased to see him, as if she had been anticipating his arrival. Compelled forward by her gesture, Jacob felt an absence of fear as he continued towards the settlement. The Sioux villagers welcomed him as one of their own, leading him by the arm towards a dwelling. But just before entering the teepee, the scene evaporated instantly. Jacob was returned to himself again, dressed just as he was before. Unsure of what to make of the extraordinary event, Jacob told his parents about it later that night, back at their motel room. They reacted with tempered scepticism, though could not reasonably explain what their son had experienced. In later years, Jacob returned numerous times to hunt deer in those same woods bordering the Missouri, but did not experience any further paranormal encounters. The disorienting event left Jacob mystified for decades to come. Had he momentarily been transported into the body of a boy who had visited those woods centuries earlier? Or was it a flashback to a past life, perhaps? Jacob has speculated on such explanations, but has long since resigned himself to the mystery. Out to pasture. In the summer of 1999, near the rural Michigan town of Leslie, Stacey Clark's 2 children were visiting their grandmother's farm, a 100-acre property that had been in the family since 1861. The weather was comfortably warm and sunny that July afternoon as the kids, Amanda, aged 16, and her younger brother Michael, were out doing chores with the horses. Amanda led her favourite, a young chestnut mare named Annie, from the paddock into the spacious back pasture to graze. This pasture encompassed over 6 acres of gently sloping green fields, checkered with wildflowers and clover, all fenced in by weathered wooden rails. As Amanda secured the gate and glanced back out at the pasture, she noticed Annie staring intently at something way out in the middle amongst the knee-high grass. Amanda scanned the empty pasture, seeing nothing but buzzing insects and flickering butterflies dancing above the billowing grass. No trees or buildings stood out there, just grass and wildflowers as far as the eye could see to the back forest line. But Annie kept snorting, agitated, and focused on some invisible disturbance. Beginning to feel unnerved herself, Amanda slowly approached the transfixed horse to follow the direction of her unrelenting gaze. As she drew up alongside Annie, Amanda was hit with dismay as the whole landscape suddenly and radically transformed around her. The wooden fencing had inexplicably vanished, and the grass had matured to above waist height. Scattered trees now dotted the pasture, their leaves shivering in the brisk autumn wind despite it being early summer moments before. The sunny blue sky had shifted to ominous dark grey clouds, hinting at an approaching Midwest thunderstorm. But most shocking of all was the sight of two male figures at the crest of a hill amongst the grass, an elderly white-bearded man and a boy of about 14. They were dressed in dirty woolen jackets and worn trousers with leather boots, resembling a style from the 1800s. Moving in concert, the pair were using wooden staffs to herd a flock of sheep towards a timber sheep pen. Amanda was transfixed listening to the chorus of bleats echoing across the field, and the men calling commands to manoeuvre the woolly herd in an unfamiliar drawl. Deeply unsettled by the situation, Amanda hastily pulled Annie away, fleeing back to the safety of the barn without glancing backwards. Only once sheltered inside the musty, cool barn, with its familiar smells of hay and leather and horse, did Amanda dare to peek outside again. To her immense relief, the landscape had reverted to precisely how it was before, just sunny summer fields surrounded by weathered rails. Rattled, Amanda told her brother and grandmother what she had witnessed. They reacted with astonishment, but having known Amanda her whole life, did not doubt the sincerity of her strange account. To this day, Amanda remains convinced she slipped through some thin spot in time and briefly glimpsed a slice of the homestead life of her ancestors centuries earlier. She still wonders about the bearded man and his young companion out tending their flock on the Michigan frontier, a great-great-grandfather and his son perhaps. 17th century estate. On a blustery early spring evening in March of 2014, Karen Sinclair was burning the midnight oil to finish editing a manuscript that her boss urgently needed for a client meeting the next morning. Karen was a junior editor at the offices of a small book publisher in a converted Georgian townhouse on Albemarle Street in Mayfair, London. It was well past 8 p.m, and Karen was the last remaining employee still plugging away. The ancient building had been empty for over an hour, the rest of the staff having cleared out to hurry home or meet friends at nearby pubs. Just as Karen finalised the document and closed down her laptop for the night, the power abruptly cut out, submerging the third-floor office in darkness. Pulling her phone out for its flashlight, she carefully navigated through the maze of desks and chairs in her department's office suite towards the hallway. Karen noted that the security lights seemed to be malfunctioning as well, which should have automatically kicked on. Using the glow of her phone, she made her way unsteadily down 3 flights of narrow stairs to the ground floor lobby, holding the wall rail. Rounding the last landing, instead of the small marble lobby, Karen was shocked to enter an entirely foreign space. The brown vintage rug was missing, leaving wide planked wooden floorboards. Straw and debris littered the floor alongside muddy boot prints. Bizarre leather implements hung on hooks lining the walls, which now seemed to be composed of dark wood panelling. The space was illuminated by 4 wall-mounted iron candlestick holders dripping with wax, the warm glow revealing a hunched figure in the hallway who had not been there seconds before. Karen stood frozen in confusion as a rising terror began to slowly overtake her. What should have been an empty office lobby appeared as an old stable, like something from a Dickensian period film. As the pungent smell of livestock, mould and smoke registered, the sound of horses nickering and stamping hooves drifted from unseen nearby stalls. Karen's throat clenched with fear as the huddled figure shifted slightly, but did not fully emerge from the shadows. An ominous sensation of being watched crept up Karen's neck. In a panic, she fumbled desperately along the panelled wall, feeling for a door handle, and nearly cried out in relief as the panel gave way to a modern aluminium lever door handle. Karen exploded into the cold night air, sprinting the handful of blocks in her heels to Green Park Station, not stopping until safely aboard a train bound for home. The next morning, Karen phoned in, claiming illness, still badly shaken by the incident. When she cautiously returned to work 2 days later, everything in the old building appeared perfectly normal. Hardly able to believe her own eyes, Karen confirmed with the building facilities manager that the townhouse had indeed been converted from carriage houses and stables originally built in the 17th century behind the Duke of Devonshire's estate. The company moved locations not long after, but Karen continued to work at their new offices in central London for years. Childhood glimpses. One morning in 2017, Jeff Morgan embarked on the 150-mile drive southeast from his current home in Columbus back to his parents' house in the small town of Belpre, Ohio, a trip he made every couple of months. As he cruised down Putnam Street, the sleepy residential road his parents lived on for over 30 years, Jeff was stunned to see coming towards him an orange 1981 Ford Escort hatchback, the exact make, model, year and colour as the car his family had owned back when Jeff was a kid. As the little orange Escort whizzed closely by his driver's side, Jeff was certain the driver was his father Tom, as he appeared decades earlier. Jeff recognised his once grey hair, thick dark moustache and those familiar brown aviator glasses. His dad loved those sunglasses and practically lived in them during the summer months. Jeff was struck with astonished disbelief at glimpsing this apparent moment in time from his own childhood, so improbably embodied before him. Compelled to understand what he had just witnessed, Jeff quickly pulled his SUV to the curb with the intention of turning around to pursue the phantom forward. But as he sat idling there, engine rumbling, he was suddenly overwhelmed by an intuitive sense that he must let it go. As much as he desired to chase it down and confront the vision, an inner voice directed him to carry on his way without looking back. Through the rearview mirror, Jeff watched the little orange hatchback round the corner by his childhood home and disappear from view. He merged back into the sparse flow of traffic, quite unsettled by the bizarre trick time had played on him. What seemed like an actual tangible crossing of his own past left Jeff baffled yet wistful for those simple long-lost days sitting with his dad as he sped around in that little orange Escort without a care in the world.